Stop scrolling. Stop doubting. Stop telling yourself this stirring in your spirit is nothing. What you are feeling right now is not coincidence, not emotion, not imagination. It is a warning from God, sharp and urgent, because destiny is too close and danger is too real to be ignored. God does not whisper warnings to those who have no future to protect. He speaks urgently when something precious is at stake. You are not listening to this by accident. Heaven has aligned this moment because there is a man in your path, and God is saying, be alert. There are seasons when God comforts, and there are seasons when God cautions. This is not a season of comfort. This is a season of discernment. Chosen ones are not destroyed by lack of power. They are delayed by misplaced trust. The greatest threats to destiny rarely come dressed as enemies. They come smiling. They come offering help. They come appearing harmless, supportive, even spiritual. But God sees what eyes cannot see. God sees intention, motive, future impact. And when God warns you about a man, it is never about fear, it is about preservation. Hear this deeply. Not every man sent into your life is sent by God. Some are allowed as tests, some are tolerated as lessons, and some are permitted only to reveal how much you have grown. The chosen often mistake proximity for permission. Just because someone is close does not mean they belong. Just because someone understands your language does not mean they share your assignment. God is saying, do not confuse access with alignment. You have prayed for elevation, cried out for expansion, fasted for breakthrough. But elevation changes the kind of battles you face. When God begins to lift you, the enemy no longer attacks you from the outside. He tries to attach himself to you from within your circle. This is why the warning is about a man, not a storm, not a situation, not a visible threat. The danger is relational. The danger is subtle. The danger is close. God is not saying this man is obvious trouble. If he were obvious, you would not need a warning. God is saying there is something hidden, something undeveloped, something unresolved in him that will collide with where God is taking you. Destiny is sensitive. Purpose is fragile in its early stages. One wrong alignment can slow years of divine progress. That is why God intervenes early. Chosen ones carry light, and light attracts everything, those who want to be healed and those who want to feed. Some people are drawn to you, not because they honor what God placed in you, but because they benefit from it. They like your strength because it covers their weakness. They like your faith because it compensates for their doubt. They like your discipline because it hides their disorder. But God is saying, you were not anointed to be a crutch. Understand this truth. When God is silent, you wait. When God warns, you move. Delay after warning is disobedience disguised as patience. Many chosen ones have lost momentum because they tried to pray away what God already told them to separate from. God does not warn twice about the same thing in the same season. Repetition is mercy. Silence afterward is judgment. This man may not hate you. He may admire you. He may even believe he loves you. But love without alignment becomes a burden. Admiration without obedience becomes competition. Affection without submission to God's order becomes manipulation. God is not asking you to judge him. God is asking you to choose obedience over emotion. There is a difference between kindness and covenant. God never told you to carry everyone into your future. Some people are only meant to walk with you until a certain door opens. When that door opens, staying together becomes rebellion. The chosen struggle with this because your heart is generous, your spirit is compassionate, and your loyalty is deep. But generosity without discernment becomes self-sabotage. God is saying this man will not attack your gift openly. He will slowly question it. He will not confront your calling directly. He will subtly minimize it. He will not tell you to stop obeying God. He will distract you until obedience feels inconvenient. This is how destiny erosion happens. Not through dramatic betrayal, but through daily compromise. Listen carefully. Anything God warns you about that you continue to entertain will eventually cost you more than you are willing to pay. God sees the end from the beginning. You see the now. God sees the weight of this man on your future, not just his presence in your present. And because God loves you, he interrupts. You are not being punished by this warning. You are being protected. God is not saying you are wrong for caring. God is saying you are wrong for ignoring the check in your spirit. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is alignment with divine instruction. If your spirit has been restless, if your prayers feel heavy, if your joy has been leaking slowly, these are not random emotions. These are signals. Chosen ones often think strength means enduring everything. But strength in God means discerning what not to endure. You do not need to prove resilience by surviving relationships God never ordained. Obedience is greater than endurance. Separation is sometimes the highest form of faith. God is saying, I'm not asking you to fix him. I am not asking you to heal him. I am not asking you to wait until he understands. Your assignment is not rehabilitation. Your assignment is obedience. When God wants to transform a person, he does it without sacrificing another's destiny. You are not the altar on which this man is meant to grow. There are men who are comfortable being near the anointing, but terrified of becoming accountable to God. They like proximity without responsibility. They like benefit without submission. And when God begins to demand growth from them, they resist. That resistance becomes friction in your life. God is saying, do not let someone else's refusal to grow become your reason to shrink. The chosen are most vulnerable right before major transition. This is when emotional attachments feel strongest, when loneliness whispers lies, when familiarity feels safer than faith. But God is saying, what feels safe now will become restrictive later. The warning is not about what this man is today, but about what he will be when pressure comes. Pressure reveals truth. When God accelerates your life, pressure increases. If this man cannot handle pressure, he will redirect it toward you. If he cannot stand firm, he will lean on you until you are exhausted. If he cannot hear God clearly, he will resist when God leads you boldly. And God is saying, you cannot afford that weight. You have been called to lead, to influence, to build, to stand. You cannot do that while constantly explaining your obedience, justifying your faith, or shrinking your vision to keep someone comfortable. God never told you to negotiate your calling for companionship. This warning is an invitation to trust God more than your emotions. Faith is not proven in miracles. It is proven in decisions no one applauds. Walking away does not mean you failed. Walking away means you listen. Obedi. NCE often looks like loss before it looks like breakthrough. God is not cruel. If he is removing or warning you about someone, it is because he already has provision prepared. Empty space is not abandonment, it is preparation. God clears what cannot go where you are going. Chosen one, do not silence the warning to protect the relationship. Protect the calling and God will handle the rest. You are not responsible for how this man responds to your obedience. You are responsible for obeying. God is saying, I called you before he knew you. I anointed you before He understood you. I sustained you before He supported you. Do not place someone in a position only God should occupy. This is not about fear. This is about faith with clarity. Faith that trusts God's voice even when it contradicts your feelings. Faith that believes God sees what you cannot afford to learn the hard way. You are not losing anything by obeying this warning. You are gaining time, peace, momentum, and protection. The chosen do not need many voices. They need one clear instruction. And that instruction is sounding now. Pay attention to what drains you. Pay attention to what dulls your passion. Pay attention to what makes obedience feel heavy. God speaks through patterns before consequences. You are closer than you think. The reason this warning feels intense is because your breakthrough is near. The enemy does not waste strategy on those going nowhere. This resistance is proof of direction. God is saying, choose me without apology. Choose obedience without delay. Choose alignment over attachment. The future God has prepared for you requires clarity, courage, and separation. Do not argue with the warning. Do not delay the decision. Do not wait for proof when God has already spoken. You were chosen to stand, not to settle. You were called to move forward, not to look back. You were marked T, obey, not to negotiate. God is not only warning you about who to step away from, He is also revealing who you are becoming. Every divine warning carries a revelation of identity. God never separates you from something without first securing you in who He has called you to be. The discomfort you feel is the sound of growth. Growth stretches relationships. Growth exposes incompatibility. Growth demands decisions that the old version of you could postpone, but the new version of you cannot. God is saying, you are no longer permitted to be passive about your future. There are people who only know how to relate to the version of you that was uncertain, the version that questioned, the version that needed reassurance. When God strengthens you, those people feel threatened, not because you changed into something wrong, but because you changed into something strong. This man may not know how to relate to a version of you that listens to God without apology. God is saying, do not downgrade clarity to preserve comfort. Chosen ones often face resistance not from enemies, but from those who benefited from their patience. When you begin to walk decisively, those who relied on your hesitation feel exposed. This is why warnings often come at the moment you decide to move forward. God is drawing a line not to isolate you, but to define you. Understand this, God's warnings are not rooted in suspicion, they are rooted in foresight. God does not guess, God knows. What feels premature to you is perfectly timed in heaven. Waiting longer will not bring more clarity, it will only deepen attachment. God interrupts early so you do not have to recover later. There is a spiritual principle you must grasp. Alignment determines acceleration. You can pray for speed, but if you are aligned incorrectly, movement will cost you energy without progress. God is not withholding blessing. God is removing friction. This man represents friction in a season where God intends flow. Some relationships do not collapse because they are sinful. They collapse because they are insufficient for the weight of destiny. God is increasing the weight on your life. Greater responsibility, greater influence, greater assignment. Anything not built to carry that weight will eventually crack. God is saying, do not confuse breaking with evil. Some things break because they were never designed to go this far. You may be tempted to explain yourself, to justify the decision, to soften the truth so it hurts less, but obedience does not require explanation. God did not ask you to convince anyone, God asked you to follow. When God leads you out, silence is sometimes the most powerful confirmation that you trust Him. Chosen ones must learn to be misunderstood without becoming defensive. Defense often means doubt. Confidence in God produces quiet resolve. You do not need permission to obey God. You do not need agreement to move forward. God's approval outweighs human understanding. There are men who admire your discipline but resent your direction. They want your results without your surrender. They want the fruit but not the root. And when they realize they cannot control what God is growing in you, they attempt to slow it down. God is saying, anything that tries to slow obedience is not from me. Pay attention to resistance when you pray. Pay attention to tension when you fast. Pay attention to discouragement when you speak vision. These are indicators, not accidents. God speaks through disruption when comfort becomes dangerous. You are not cruel for choosing obedience. You are not heartless for honoring God above emotion. Compassion does not mean compromise. Love does not mean disobedience. God never asked you to sacrifice your assignment on the altar of sympathy. There is a season where God allows connection. And there is a season where God demands separation. Missing the shift between those seasons causes confusion. God is shifting you now. What once felt permissible now feels heavy because God has changed your capacity. You have outgrown what once fit. God is not removing joy from your life. He is removing the counterfeit version of it. Real joy does not compete with obedience. Real peace does not argue with God's voice. Real alignment produces rest, even when the decision is painful. You must understand the power of obedience before understanding the full picture. God rarely shows the entire map. He reveals the next step. Trust is proven in movement, not in comprehension. If God waited for you to understand everything, you would never need faith. Chosen ones often want confirmation from people when God has already confirmed in the Spirit. But the Spirit does not need consensus, it needs courage. Courage is not loud. Courage is quiet obedience in the face of emotional pressure. God is saying, I am not taking something from you. I am making room for what you asked me for. Every prayer you prayed requires space. Space requires subtraction. Subtraction requires trust. There are doors that will not open while certain people remain closed, not because those people are evil, but because the door demands singular focus. God is calling you into a season of clarity where divided attention is no longer permitted. If you ignore this warning, you may still move forward, but it will be slower, heavier, more painful. God allows choice, but He reveals consequence. Obedience is not the only option, but it is the only one that leads to peace. Do not wait until bitterness teaches you what discernment tried to prevent. Do not wait until exhaustion explains what obedience would have avoided. God warns before pain, so pain does not have to be your teacher. Chosen one. Your sensitivity to God is not weakness, it is your greatest strength. The fact that you feel this warning means your spirit is alive, tuned, responsive. Do not dull that sensitivity by rationalizing what God is highlighting. You were not chosen to blend in emotionally, you were chosen to stand out spiritually. Standing out requires decisions others will not understand. But heaven understands, and that is enough. God is inviting you into deeper trust. Trust that He knows what He is doing. Trust that He will handle what you release. Trust that obedience will not leave you empty. There is a future version of you that thanks you for listening today. There is a peace ahead that requires courage now. There is a freedom waiting on the other side of obedience. God is faithful. When He warns, He also covers. When He separates, He also supplies. When He closes one door, He opens another with clarity and peace. Do not rush the grief. Do not suppress the emotion. But do not let emotion rule the decision. Feel everything, obey anyway. God is not done speaking to you, but this instruction is clear. Protect your spirit. Guard your calling. Choose alignment. You are not walking away alone. God goes before you, stands beside you, and secures what you cannot see. The warning is love. The instruction is mercy. The obedience is protection. There is a moment in every chosen life when God shifts the way He speaks. Early on, God guides gently, correcting softly, allowing space for learning. But when destiny draws near, God's voice sharpens. Not because He is angry, but because time becomes sacred. Urgency is the language of proximity. What you are hearing now is urgency born from love. God is saying, I will not allow distraction to masquerade as destiny any longer. Many do not realize this, but warnings are a privilege. Silence is far more dangerous than seed. Erection. When God stops warning, it means a person has chosen their own way completely. But you are still being warned because God is still invested. God is still shaping. God is still protecting. The fact that your spirit reacts, resists, wrestles is proof that you are still aligned enough to hear. This man may appear consistent, present, even supportive, but consistency without direction becomes stagnation. Presence without purpose becomes noise. God is not impressed by proximity. God responds to obedience. Someone can be close to you and still far from where God is leading you. Nearness does not equal readiness. There is a danger the chosen must recognize. Familiarity can numb discernment. When someone has been around long enough, you stop questioning what you should still be praying about. God is saying, do not let time replace confirmation. Longevity does not sanctify alignment. Only obedience does. You are entering a season where God will demand clarity of environment. Atmospheres matter. Conversations matter. Who you listen to matters. God is refining not only what you do, but what you tolerate. This is maturity. This is leadership. This is the weight of being chosen. Some people are only equipped for survival seasons, not expansion seasons. They know how to endure drought with you, but cannot handle overflow. When God begins to bless openly, unresolved insecurity in others becomes hostility, control, or withdrawal. God is warning you now so you are not surprised later. The chosen are often tempted to carry others forward out of loyalty. But loyalty without instruction becomes rebellion. God never asked you to be faithful to people at the expense of being faithful to Him. Loyalty belongs first to God, then to assignment, then to people who honor both. This man may not understand why you cannot slow down, why you cannot compromise small things, why obedience matters to you so deeply. And rather than seeking God for understanding, He may seek you to adjust. God is saying, anyone who asks you to lower your standard instead of raising theirs is not aligned with where I am taking you. God is also teaching you something about timing. The warning is not late. It is not early. It is exact. God speaks when your spirit is strong enough to respond. Earlier, you might have ignored it. Now, you are capable of acting. This is growth revealed through responsibility. There is a cost to obedience, but there is a greater cost to delay. Delayed obedience does not cancel destiny, but it complicates it. God wants your future clean, not cluttered with unnecessary recovery. God would rather you feel temporary pain than permanent regret. Do not underestimate how deeply God cares about your peace. Peace is not a luxury. It is a requirement for sustained assignment. Anything that constantly disturbs your peace is signaling misalignment. God is not the author of confusion. heaviness, or internal conflict that persists without resolution? You are not imagining the spiritual resistance around this connection. You are not overthinking. Spiritual sensitivity increases when calling increases. What once felt neutral now feels heavy because God is sharpening your discernment. This is not loss, this is clarity. God is preparing you for leadership, and leadership requires solitude at times. Not isolation, but separation. Separation is intentional. It creates space for instruction, refinement, and strength. God often removes voices before He gives new direction. This warning is also an invitation to trust God with your emotional needs. God is not asking you to become cold. God is asking you to become anchored. Anchored people do not cling to unstable support. They rest in God's sufficiency. There are seasons where God allows companionship, support, and seasons where God becomes your sole reinforcement. This is one of those seasons. God is drawing you closer, not to deprive you, but to prepare you. Intimacy with God precedes clarity of assignment. If you feel a quiet grief rising, let it rise. Grief does not mean you are wrong. It means you are human. But do not let grief decide. Let obedience lead, and grief will heal in time. God heals what obedience wounds. Remember this. Destiny does not negotiate. It moves forward whether you are ready or not. God gives warning so you can move with destiny, not be dragged by it. Cooperation brings peace. Resistance brings strain. This man represents a crossroads, not because he is powerful, but because your decision is. God is watching how you choose when emotion and instruction collide. This moment is shaping your future discernment. You are learning to hear God beyond signs and wonders, beyond dramatic confirmation. You are learning to hear Him in the quiet insistence that does not go away. That insistence is the voice of God shaping mature faith. God is also teaching you that love must be rooted in truth. Anything that requires you to ignore truth to maintain connection will eventually collapse. Truth sustains, avoidance erodes. Do not confuse patience with permission. God has been patient with you, but patience does not mean approval. This warning is God's mercy interrupting before patience expires. You are stepping into a season where God will trust you with more influence. Influence attracts responsibility. Responsibility demands discernment. Discernment requires difficult choices. This is the pathway of the chosen. God is saying, I need your hands free, free from emotional entanglement, free from constant explanation, free from carrying what I never assigned. Freedom is not escape, it is alignment. There will be moments after obedience when silence feels loud. That silence is not abandonment, it is adjustment. Your spirit is recalibrating to a new rhythm. Stay still, stay listening. God will not leave you unsupported. He will send clarity, peace, strength, and provision in ways that confirm obedience. But those confirmations often come after the decision, not before. You are being trained to walk by trust, not reassurance. This is higher ground. This is deeper faith. This is the posture of those entrusted with much. Let go without resentment. Step forward without arrogance. Obey without fear. God resists pride, but strengthens the humble who obey even when it costs them emotionally. What God is building in you requires integrity of heart. Integrity is choosing what aligns with God, even when no one would blame you for choosing otherwise. Heaven honors integrity. This warning is shaping your future boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. Gates allow what aligns and block what threatens. God is teaching you how to guard what He has placed inside you. Stay sensitive, stay responsive, stay surrendered. God is not finished instructing you, but this season is demanding courage over comfort, obedience over attachment, trust over familiarity. And as you continue forward, you'll recognize that every warning was a layer of protection, preparing you for what is unfolding just ahead, where God's hand becomes clearer, His direction sharper, and His presence more sustaining as you walk into the next phase of what He has already ordained. There is another layer to this warning that must be understood, because God never speaks on one level alone. God is not only protecting your future relationships, He is protecting your authority. Authority is fragile when obedience is compromised. Authority flows from alignment, not from position. When you stay connected to what God has already flagged, you begin to fade. A spiritual resistance when you speak, hesitation when you act, delay when you decide. God is saying, I need your authority clean, uncompromised, and undivided. You are stepping into a season where your words will carry unusual weight. What you declare will move situations. What you refuse will set boundaries in the unseen. But authority cannot coexist with inner contradiction. If your spirit knows something is wrong, but your actions ignore it, authority leaks. God is warning you, because what He is about to entrust to you requires internal agreement with His voice. This man may not oppose God openly, but subtle opposition is more dangerous than open resistance. Open resistance is easy to identify. Subtle resistance hides behind concern, questions, delays, and emotional pressure. God is saying, watch who questions what I have already confirmed to you. Discernment sharpens when you stop explaining what God has already settled. There are moments when God allows someone to walk with you long enough to reveal your growth. At first you adjusted for them. You explained yourself. You waited. Now God is watching whether you will still adjust when He has already elevated you internally. This is not about them changing. This is about you choosing. God is also training you to recognize spiritual imbalance. When one person is always pulling and the other is always pouring, imbalance eventually becomes resentment. God never designed you to be the source. God designed you to be the steward. When someone relies on you more than they rely on God, that dependency becomes a burden you were never meant to carry. You must hear this clearly. God does not want you entangled in emotional responsibility that He never assigned. Responsibility belongs where authority exists. You do not have authority over another person's growth, obedience, or healing. Carrying responsibility with authority leads to frustration, guilt, and exhaustion. God is freeing you from that weight. The chosen often confuse compassion with obligation. Compassion feels deeply, but obligation binds dangerously. God is compassionate, yet He still sets boundaries. God loves, yet He still separates. If God Himself separates from what resists His will, why would you think love requires you to stay where alignment is missing? There is a quiet strength God is developing in you. The strength to say no without anger, to walk away without hatred, to obey without drama. This strength does not announce itself. It simply moves when God says move. This is mature faith. You may notice that when you imagine letting go, fear rises, not fear of losing the person, but fear of facing the unknown. That fear is not a sign to stay, it is a sign that God is calling you to trust Him beyond familiarity. Familiarity feels safe, but it often hides stagnation. God's safety feels unfamiliar at first because it requires surrender. God is also teaching you that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay through every season. Permanence is not the measure of value. Some people serve a purpose for a time, and when that purpose is fulfilled, clinging becomes disobedience. Gratitude does not require attachment. This warning is sharpening your discernment for the future. God is training you now so that later, when the stakes are higher, your response will be quicker. Discernment is developed through obedience in uncomfortable moments. Every time you listen, your hearing becomes clearer. Do not underestimate how much God values your focus. Focus is currency in the spiritual realm. Whatever divides focus weakens effectiveness. God is calling you into a season of singular vision, where distractions lose their power and clarity becomes your companion. There are doors ahead that require boldness without hesitation. Hesitation often comes from unresolved ties. God is cutting those ties now, so you can step forward without looking back. Forward movement requires clean breaks. You may be tempted to wait for the right moment, but the right moment is when God speaks. Delaying obedience to protect emotions is still delay. God honors immediate obedience because it reflects trust, not impulse. God is not rushing you, He is positioning you. Positioning often feels like loss before it feels like gain. But nothing you release in obedience is ever wasted. God repurposes obedience into protection, peace, and provision. If you are wondering whether you will regret this decision, understand this. Regret comes from ignoring truth, not from obeying it. Even when obedience hurts, it heals cleanly. Disobedience may feel easier at first, but it leaves residue. God is also teaching you how to walk alone without feeling abandoned. Alone does not mean unsupported. Alone means undistracted. God often removes secondary voices so His voice becomes unmistakable. There will come a day when you look back and realize this warning saved you years of confusion. What feels heavy now will feel merciful later. Clarity often comes after courage. You are not behind, you are right on time. This warning is not a setback, it is an alignment check. God adjusts those He intends to accelerate. Stay honest with God. Do not hide your emotions from Him. God can handle your questions, your tears, your resistance, but let Him lead your decisions. Surrender is not silence, it is trust expressed through action. God is calling you higher, and higher places require lighter loads. Anything unnecessary must be released. This is not loss, this is refinement. You are being shaped into someone who listens quickly, moves decisively, and trusts deeply. This is the posture of the chosen. God sees your willingness. God honors your obedience. God secures your future. And as you continue to walk forward with humility and courage, you will discover that every warning was an act of love, every separation a step toward freedom, and every obedient decision a doorway into deeper peace, clearer purpose, and a stronger awareness of God's guidance unfolding step by step as you remain attentive to His voice and anchored in His direction. Listen to me carefully. There are moments when God speaks so softly, so privately, that if you blink, if you doubt, if you rush to explain it to the wrong ears, you will miss the weight of eternity resting on your spirit. God said, keep this silent. It's between you and Him. And the reason this message is burning in your chest right now is because you were never meant to announce what God is incubating. You were meant to carry it. You were meant to protect it. You were meant to let it grow in the dark where only God can shape it. Some of you have been wondering why God has pulled you away from noise, away from crowds, away from voices that once felt familiar. You thought it was loneliness. You thought it was rejection. You thought you had done something wrong. But hear this with clarity. God removes witnesses when He's about to do something sacred. There are things God will never do in public because public opinion contaminates divine purpose. When God says, keep this silent, He is not punishing you, He is trusting you. Silence is not absence. Silence is preparation. God knows that not everyone who claps for you believes in you. God knows that not every smile carries faith. God knows that some people will pray against what God has promised you while pretending to pray for you. That is why God whispers certain instructions instead of announcing them. That is why He seals certain visions instead of advertising them. What God is forming in you does not need validation. It needs obedience. It does not need applause. It needs alignment. You've been carrying questions in your spirit, asking God why He told you something, and then told you not to speak about it. You wanted confirmation from people when God already gave confirmation in your spirit. But God does not consult crowds before He moves. He does not negotiate His plans with human opinion. God speaks and He expects trust. When God says it is between you and Him, He is inviting you into intimacy, not isolation. Intimacy requires discretion. Intimacy requires reverence. Intimacy requires maturity. There are seasons when God will give you a promise and then give you silence. And in that silence, your faith is tested. Not by what you say, but by what you do when no one is watching. Silence reveals whether you trust God's word or your own explanation. Silence reveals whether you need people to believe you or whether God believing in you is enough. Some of you talk too much about what God showed you, and that is why it keeps leaking power. Words spoken too early weaken destiny. God has not forgotten what He told you. Heaven does not suffer from memory loss. When God speaks, time obeys. Delay does not mean denial. Quiet does not mean cancellation. Hidden does not mean forgotten. Seeds do not grow in open air. They grow underground, where no one can see them, where pressure is constant, where darkness is real. God is not burying you. He is planting you. And planted things must remain silent if they are going to rise strong. You must understand this. God is more concerned with who you are becoming than with what you are receiving. That is why He tells you to keep it between you and Him. He is shaping your character to carry the weight of what He promised. If He revealed everything publicly right now, pride would rush in before humility was finished working. Fear would arrive before faith was fully established. Distraction would steal focus before discipline was complete. God protects His gifts by hiding them. There are conversations God does not want you to have. There are explanations God does not want you to give. There are questions God does not want you to answer. Because the moment you begin to explain what God is doing, you begin to reduce it to human logic. And God does not operate on logic. He operates on sovereignty. What God is doing in your life will not make sense to everyone, and it does not need to. Clarity is not for spectators. Clarity is for the call. Some of you are frustrated because you want to shout what God whispered. You want to post what God impressed. You want to announce what God entrusted. But God says, no, keep this silent. Not because it is small, but because it is holy. Sacred things are not displayed carelessly. They are guarded, they are honored, they are protected. When God chooses you for something significant, He also chooses secrecy as your shield. You must learn this truth. Every great work of God begins with a private yes. Before there is any visible transformation, there is an invisible surrender. Before there is any public breakthrough, there is a private battle where you wrestle with doubt, fear, and impatience. God watches how you handle what He tells you in secret. He watches whether you trust Him enough to stay quiet when everything in you wants to speak. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strength under control. Silence is faith refusing to be rushed. Silence is obedience without witnesses. When God says, keep this between you and Him, He is teaching you how to walk by faith and not by reassurance. He is teaching you how to stand firm without applause. He is teaching you how to wait without complaining. And waiting, when guided by God, is never wasted time. Some of you have already made the mistake of sharing what God told you with people who did not have the capacity to understand it. And instead of encouragement, you received doubt. Instead of faith, you received fear. Instead of support, you received criticism. And now God is teaching you a painful but powerful lesson. Everyone does not deserve access to your revelation. God does not reveal to everyone what He reveals to you. And that is not arrogance. That is assignment. When God chooses you, He chooses you knowing that you will have to walk alone for a while. Not forever, but for a season. And that season of silence is where your faith grows roots. Roots grow in darkness. Roots grow where no one sees. Roots grow where there is pressure and resistance. And the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. God is not rushing your exposure, because exposure without roots leads to collapse. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are right where God needs you to be. And the fact that He told you to keep this silent means He is actively involved. God does not ask for silence when He is absent. He asks for silence when He is working. Noise interrupts process. Opinions interrupt obedience. Explanations interrupt trust. There are things God will do in your life that you will not be able to explain even when they happen. And if you cannot explain them then, why try to explain them now? Faith does not need a microphone. Faith needs endurance. Faith needs discipline. Faith needs surrender. God did not give you that word so you could impress people. He gave you that word so you could survive the journey. Some of you are being refined right now. God is stripping you of the need to be understood. He is removing your dependence on affirmation. He is teaching you how to be content with His approval alone. Because when what He promised arrives, criticism will increase, pressure will multiply, responsibility will expand. And if you cannot stand strong now in silence, you will not stand strong later in visibility. Understand this deeply. What God is preparing you for will require spiritual authority, not public agreement. Authority is not given by crowds. Authority is given by God. And authority is built in hidden places. It is built in obedience when no one is watching. It is built in prayer when no one is listening. It is built in restraint when you could speak. But you choose to trust God instead. God is not trying to keep you small. He is trying to keep you focused. He is not delaying your promise. He is deepening your foundation. He is not ignoring your questions. He is strengthening your trust. And when the time comes, when the moment is right, when your character matches your calling, God will speak publicly through what He has been doing privately. You will not need to announce it. The evidence will speak. Some of you need to stop apologizing for being quiet. Stop feeling guilty for not explaining yourself. Stop thinking you owe people access to what God is doing in you. You do not. Obedience sometimes looks like silence. Faith sometimes sounds like nothing. And trust sometimes means keeping your mouth closed while your spirit holds on tightly to what God said. God knows the weight of what He placed inside you. He knows the opposition it will attract. He knows the resistance it will face. That is why He said, keep this between you and Him. Because until you are ready, until the timing is perfect, until the structure is complete, exposure would damage what He is building. God protects His work by hiding it until it is unbreakable. You must resist the urge to prove yourself. God is your vindication. You must resist the urge to explain yourself. God is your defense. You must resist the urge to rush the process. God is your timing. What God promised will not fail because you stayed quiet. It will fail if you try to take control of what only God can complete. Silence is not passive. Silence is active trust. Silence is saying, God, I believe you even when nothing around me confirms it. Silence is saying, God, I will wait even when impatience knocks. Silence is saying, God, I will protect this promise until you release it. And that kind of faith moves heaven. There will come a day when what God told you in secret will manifest openly. And when that day comes, no explanation will be necessary. No defense will be required. No announcement will be needed. People will see the result, not the process. They will see the fruit, not the root. They will see the outcome, not the obedience that carried you through silence. Until then, guard your heart, guard your mouth, guard your faith. Stay close to God. Listen more than you speak. Trust more than you question. Obey even when it is uncomfortable. Because what God is doing in you right now is too important to be discussed casually, too sacred to be exposed prematurely, too powerful to be handled by anyone other than God Himself. You were chosen not because you are loud, but because you are willing. You were trusted not because you are perfect, but because you are obedient. And if God said, keep this silent, it is because He knows that when the silence breaks, it will not whisper, it will thunder, and the world will not need an explanation to recognize that God was there, that God spoke, that God fulfilled what He promised, and that everything He does in secret always carries the weight of eternity into the open when the time is complete. There is a depth to God's silence that many never learn to honor. Silence is not God stepping back. It is God leaning in so close that only your spirit can hear Him. When God seals a matter between you and Him, He is training your inner ear to recognize His voice above every other sound. The world is loud with opinions, expectations, and urgencies, but God speaks with authority that does not need volume. Those who rush to speak betray that they are still learning to listen. Those who can remain silent are being prepared to carry weight. You must understand that God does not reveal future strength to people who still need present approval. If your confidence depends on people agreeing with you, then your faith is not yet anchored deeply enough. God is not offended by your questions, but He is shaping you beyond your need. For answers, there are seasons when God withholds explanation, not to confuse you, but to mature you. Trust that requires constant reassurance is still fragile. God is forming in you a faith that can stand without constant confirmation. There are battles you are fighting now that you were never meant to fight publicly. God has allowed certain pressures to come into your life, not so others can witness your struggle, but so you can witness His sustaining power. When God says, keep this silent, He is teaching you how to wage war in the unseen realm where victory is secured long before it is ever visible. The strongest victories are not announced, they are endured. God knows how easily human words can corrupt divine timing. A promise spoken too early can be misunderstood, challenged, or mocked. God is not afraid of opposition, but He is intentional about exposure. He knows when you are strong enough to carry misunderstanding without losing faith. Until then, He covers you. He hides you not because you are weak, but because you are becoming dangerous to the forces that oppose His will. Some of you have felt an unusual burden in your spirit, a sense that God is pressing you to be disciplined where others are casual, focused where others are distracted, restrained where others are expressive. This is not imbalance, this is alignment. God is aligning your spirit with His purpose. Alignment requires separation. Separation requires silence. And silence produces clarity that noise can never provide. You may not see it now, but God is using this season to cleanse your motives. He is removing the desire to be seen, so that when you are seen, you will not be consumed by it. He is removing the hunger for recognition, so that recognition will not corrupt your humility. God knows that unchecked ambition can destroy even the most gifted person. That is why He takes time to work in the hidden places of your heart. There is a sacred responsibility that comes with hearing God. Not everyone hears Him clearly, and not everyone who hears Him honors what they hear. To keep something between you and God is to acknowledge that His voice is not entertainment, not content, not something to be displayed for validation. His voice is covenant. His word is assignment, and assignments are carried out, not debated. God is also teaching you discernment. Silence sharpens your ability to distinguish between voices that echo fear and voices that stir faith. When you speak less, you hear more. When you hear more, you obey better. Obedience is not loud, it is consistent. God is watching how faithfully you walk when there is no audience to applaud your steps. There are doors God will open for you that will shock those who doubted, but those doors will not open because you defended yourself. They will open because you trusted God when silence was uncomfortable. God is not impressed by how well you explain yourself. He is pleased by how deeply you trust Him. Trust that holds steady under pressure releases divine authority. You must also recognize that silence is protection. God knows there are people who cannot celebrate what God is doing in you because it confronts what they have refused to believe for themselves. Silence keeps you from unnecessary spiritual conflict. It keeps your energy focused. It keeps your heart guarded. God is not trying to make you mysterious. He is trying to make you effective. Some of you are learning patience at a level you never imagined. You thought patience meant waiting for something to happen, but God is teaching you that patience is remaining faithful while nothing seems to change. This kind of patience purifies the soul. It breaks the addiction to urgency. It teaches you that God's timing is not slow, it is precise. God is also training you to trust His sovereignty over your reputation. When you stay silent, you place your image in God's hands. You stop trying to manage how others see you. You stop striving to control narratives, and in that surrender, God becomes your advocate. He speaks on your behalf in ways you never could. He arranges circumstances that reveal truth without you having to argue for it. There is a spiritual authority that comes only to those who have endured silence without resentment. Resentment grows when silence is misunderstood as neglect. But when you understand that silence is stewardship, your heart remains soft. God can entrust more to a heart that has not hardened under waiting. He can release greater responsibility to someone who has learned to be faithful with less visibility. You are being shaped into someone who does not panic when plans change, who does not collapse when answers delay, who does not compromise when pressure increases. God is forging resilience in you. This resilience cannot be taught publicly. It must be learned privately. It is built in moments when you choose prayer over panic, trust over talk, obedience over explanation. There will be moments when you are tempted to break the silence out of frustration, to speak out of weariness, to explain out of loneliness. In those moments, remember God hears what you do not say. He honors restraint. He records faithfulness. Every time you choose silence over self-promotion, you align yourself with His purpose more deeply. God is also teaching you that your value does not increase with visibility. You are already known by Him. You are already seen by Him. You are already chosen. When this truth settles deeply in your spirit, you stop striving to prove your worth. You move with confidence that does not need to announce itself. This quiet confidence is a mark of spiritual maturity. There are future responsibilities God is preparing you for that will require you to make decisions without consensus, to stand firm without agreement, to move forward without applause. Silence now is rehearsal for leadership later. God is strengthening your inner conviction so that when pressure comes, you will not bend to voices that contradict His instruction. You must also realize that silence creates space for God to speak more. When your life is filled with constant commentary, there is little room for divine direction. God speaks to those who make room for Him. He reveals more to those who honor what He has already revealed. Faithfulness in silence attracts deeper revelation. Do not despise this season. It is shaping you in ways you will one day thank God for. There will come a time when you will look back and realize that the silence saved you from mistakes you were not ready to handle, from relationships that would have distracted you, from opportunities that would have delayed your true calling. God's restraint is as loving as His provision. You are learning how to walk with God, not just work for Him. Walking requires closeness. It requires rhythm. It requires trust. God is not rushing you because He values relationship over results. When relationship is secure, results follow naturally. God is building something eternal. All in you, not something temporary for display. Remain faithful, remain attentive, remain surrendered. What God has spoken to you is alive, active, and unstoppable. Silence cannot kill it. Waiting cannot weaken it. Obedience only strengthens it. And as you continue to honor God by keeping what He entrusted to you between you and Him, you are positioning yourself for a moment when His purpose will unfold with undeniable power, unmistakable clarity, and a depth that only those who learn to trust Him in silence will ever fully understand. There is another layer to this silence that few are willing to confront. Silence exposes what truly governs your heart. When there is no one to impress and no one to convince, what remains is the raw condition of your faith. God is allowing you to see yourself without filters. He is revealing whether your obedience is rooted in devotion or in the desire for outcome. This is not condemnation. This is refinement. God refines what He intends to use greatly. God also understands the power of timing better than any mind ever could. You see moments, God sees movements. You see days, God sees generations. When He instructs you to keep something between you and Him, it is because He is aligning your personal obedience with a much larger design. Speaking prematurely can fracture alignment. Silence keeps you synchronized with divine order. You may feel at times as though you are standing still while others move ahead, but God does not measure progress the way people do. Advancement in God's purpose is not always visible. Some of the greatest forward movements happen internally. God is expanding your capacity so that when movement becomes visible, it does not overwhelm you. Capacity must increase before responsibility does. God is also teaching you how to steward power. Power revealed too early can intoxicate the soul. God knows the human urge intimately. He knows how quickly gratitude can turn into entitlement if growth outpaces humility. Silence slows you down enough to keep your heart anchored. It forces you to rely on God rather than on momentum. There is a discipline being formed in you right now, a discipline of restraint that will one day become a source of authority. People who cannot control their words cannot be trusted with influence. God is training you to weigh words carefully, to speak with intention, to understand that speech carries consequences beyond emotion. Silence is where wisdom learns to breathe. You are also learning how to hear God beyond emotion. Emotional highs fade, excitement settles, but God's instruction remains steady. Silence strips away the emotional noise so that truth can stand on its own. God wants you to recognize His voice even when there is no excitement attached, even when obedience feels costly, even when faith feels heavy. There are unseen witnesses to your silence. God sees every moment you choose, faith over fear, restraint over reaction, patience over impulse. Nothing escapes His awareness. What you think is unnoticed is being recorded in the fabric of your spiritual identity. God does not reward noise, He honors faithfulness. Some of you are being prepared to influence others not through speeches but through substance. When God eventually allows your life to be seen, people will sense depth before they hear words. Depth cannot be manufactured. It is formed over time in hidden places. Silence is where depth is born. God is also protecting you from comparison. When you speak less, you compare less. Comparison distracts from calling. God wants your eyes fixed on His instruction, not on someone else's timeline. Your assignment is unique, and it requires focus that only silence can protect. There is a confidence growing in you that does not need reinforcement. It is quiet but unshakable. This confidence is not arrogance. It is assurance rooted in God. When confidence comes from Him, it does not rise or fall with circumstances. It remains steady because its source is eternal. God knows there will be moments ahead when many voices will demand your attention, when pressure will insist on quick responses, when urgency will try to override discernment. The silence you are practicing now is training you to pause, to listen, to respond only when God directs. This ability will save you from decisions that look good but are not aligned. You are learning how to trust God with incomplete information. This is one of the highest expressions of faith. God does not reveal everything at once because revelation is progressive. Each step of obedience unlocks the next instruction. Silence keeps you focused on the current step rather than obsessing over the entire path. There is also healing happening in this quiet. God is mending wounds caused by misunderstanding, rejection, and disappointment. Noise often masks pain. Silence allows it to surface so God can heal it properly. He is restoring parts of you that were strained by trying to be understood instead of being faithful. God is teaching you that obedience is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is simple consistency. Sometimes it is choosing not to react. Sometimes it is showing up when no one notices. These small acts of faith accumulate into spiritual strength that cannot be shaken when storms come. You may feel pressure to justify your quietness, but God does not require justification. He requires surrender. When you surrender your need to explain, you experience a freedom that cannot be taken from you. Freedom from opinions, freedom from expectations, freedom from fear. God is also shaping your discernment so that when He does allow you to speak, your words will carry weight. People will listen not because you are loud, but because what you say resonates with truth. Words forged in silence carry authority that words born from impulse never will. Remain attentive to God's subtle movements. He often shifts direction quietly. Loud hearts miss gentle guidance. Stillness sharpens awareness. Awareness deepens obedience. Obedience strengthens trust. This cycle forms a life that moves in harmony with God's purpose. You are being invited into a deeper walk with God, one that is not dependent on external affirmation. This walk is steady, grounded, and resilient. It does not collapse under pressure because it was built in quiet faithfulness. God values this kind of walk because it reflects trust rather than performance. Do not measure this season by what is happening around you. Measure it by what is changing within you. God is cultivating endurance, clarity, and courage. These qualities will sustain you long after applause fades and circumstances shift. There will be a moment when God will allow the silence to lift, not because you demanded it, but because you were ready. Readiness is not impatience, it is alignment. And alignment produces movement that no resistance can stop. Until that moment, remain grounded. Let your faith deepen without display. Let your trust mature without commentary. Let your obedience remain steady without witnesses. God is closer than you think, more involved than you feel, and fully committed to completing what He entrusted to you. When He said, "Keep this silent," it's between you and Him as this journey of silence deepens. Understand that God is not merely shaping a moment in your life. He is shaping the way you walk with Him forever. This season is teaching you how to remain anchored when everything around you shifts. It is teaching you how to trust God's nature even when His methods remain hidden. When you learn to trust God in silence, you learn to trust Him in every circumstance, because your faith is no longer dependent on outcomes but on who God is. There is a sacred courage forming in you right now. It is the courage to obey without guarantees, to wait without timelines, to believe without evidence. This courage is rare, and God entrusts it only to those He intends to use deeply. Many want the results of faith, but few are willing to endure the quiet obedience that produces them. God sees that you stayed when it would have been easier to speak, that you listened when it would have been easier to react, that you trusted when it would have been easier to doubt. What God is building in you cannot be shaken because it is not built on excitement or attention. It is built on conviction. Conviction does not shout, it stands. Conviction does not rush, it remains. Conviction does not crumble under pressure, it holds its ground. This is the kind of faith that moves through storms without losing direction because it knows who guides the path. You are learning how to live from the inside out. God is strengthening your inner world so that your outer world does not control you. When peace is internal, chaos loses authority. When trust is internal, fear loses influence. When God is your center, everything else finds its proper place. This is why silence has been necessary, because God wanted to rebuild you at the core. There will come a time when others will ask how you endured, how you remained steady, how you did not break under pressure. They will not see the nights of quiet prayer, the days of disciplined obedience, the moments of choosing trust over explanation. But God will know, and more importantly, you will know. You will know that what stands now was forged in stillness. God is also teaching you how to honor what He gives you. Anything rushed is rarely cherished. Anything protected is deeply valued. By keeping this between you and Him, you are learning reverence. You are learning that not everything sacred needs to be spoken, displayed, or defended. Some things are meant to be lived quietly and carried faithfully. The strength you are gaining now will one day allow you to stand without bitterness when misunderstood, without pride when celebrated, without fear when challenged. This balance does not come from talent or knowledge. It comes from a life that has learned to rest in God's authority rather than its own effort. You are not being withheld from something. You are being prepared for something. Prepared to carry responsibility without losing humility. Prepared to walk in influence without losing dependence on God. Prepared to move forward without needing constant reassurance. Prepared to trust God even when the path ahead remains unseen. Let this truth settle deeply within you. God never wastes a season of silence. Every quiet moment is shaping clarity. Every restrained word is strengthening wisdom. Every unseen act of obedience is building spiritual weight. What God is forming now will sustain you long after the noise fades and the moment passes. Remain faithful in the unseen. Remain obedient in the quiet. Remain confident in God's timing. What He has spoken will stand. What He has promised will unfold. And what He has entrusted to you in silence will emerge with a strength, depth, and authority that could only have been born in a place where it was kept between you and Him. Listen carefully, because this is not noise, this is not coincidence, and this is not just another motivational moment passing through your ears. This is a divine interruption. Right now, in this very season of your life, when doubt tried to settle in and fear whispered that nothing would change, God is speaking with authority and clarity. Your miracle money season has started. Not tomorrow, not someday, not after everything makes sense, but now. And if you can open your spirit to hear this truth, it will shift how you see your struggle, your waiting, and your future from this moment forward. There are seasons when God is silent, and there are seasons when God speaks softly, but there are also seasons when God announces something with power because the timing has arrived. This is not the season to shrink back. This is not the season to measure your life by your bank balance or your past failures. This is the season where God begins to move resources, opportunities, and favor in ways you could never orchestrate on your own. What you could not earn through effort alone, God now releases through grace. What logic could not explain, God delivers through divine alignment. Many people think money miracles are about greed, but God knows the truth of your heart. God knows the nights you stayed awake, worrying. God knows the responsibilities resting on your shoulders. God knows the prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. God knows the promises you made to give, to help, to build, to lift others once you were lifted. And because God is just, because God is faithful, because God never ignores sincere faith, this season is not about excess. It is about provision, restoration, and testimony. There are doors you have knocked on for years that never opened. There are applications you sent that received no response. There are ideas you carried that never found support. You questioned yourself. You wondered if you were hearing God correctly. But understand this, delay does not mean denial. God was not ignoring you. God was preparing the environment. When God releases financial miracles, it is never premature and never late. It arrives at the exact moment your character can handle it and your purpose can sustain it. This is why this season feels different. You sense it in your spirit. There is a quiet confidence replacing anxiety. There is a strange calm where panic once lived. That is not imagination, that is alignment. God is shifting your internal posture before shifting your external reality. Because if money comes before maturity, it becomes a burden. But when God brings provision after preparation, it becomes a tool. You must understand something crucial. Miracle money does not always fall from the sky. Sometimes it comes through unexpected people. Sometimes it arrives disguised as an idea. Sometimes it flows through favor, timing, or access you did not previously have. God does not limit provision to one method. God controls systems. markets, conversations, and decisions behind closed doors. When God decides to bless you, distance, hierarchy, and probability lose their power. You may have been told that your background disqualifies you, that your lack of connections limits you, that your past mistakes define your future. But God does not operate on human resumes. God operates on divine purpose. When God chooses someone, God supplies what that person lacks. When God appoints a season, God also appoints provision. That is why this season will surprise those who underestimated you and shock even you if you stay humble enough to receive it. This miracle money season is not random. It is responsive. It responds to obedience. It responds to trust. It responds to endurance. You did not quit when it hurt. You did not abandon faith when answers were slow. You did not compromise your values to survive. And God saw that. God always sees consistency when no one applauds. God always honors faith that remains steady in hidden places. Now hear this clearly. This season requires a shift in how you speak. You cannot keep declaring lack while God is releasing abundance. You cannot keep rehearsing fear while God is rewriting outcomes. Words are not just sounds, they are agreements. And in this season, God is calling you to agree with heaven rather than echo your history. Speak with confidence even when numbers are small. Speak with gratitude before the breakthrough appears. Speak as one who trusts that God's timing is flawless. There will be moments in this season where what God does challenges your comfort zone. You may be asked to move, to invest, to start, to give, or to step forward when logic demands retreat. This is not recklessness. This is faith-led action. God does not reward passivity masquerading as patience. God responds to movement aligned with trust. When you step in obedience, provision meets you on the path, not before it. Some of what God is releasing now is not entirely new. It is restoration. Money that was lost through injustice, opportunities stolen through deception, years wasted through wrong partnerships. God is not only a provider, God is a restorer. And restoration often comes swiftly because it is not starting from zero. It is reclaiming what always belonged to you. That is why some blessings will arrive faster than you expected, compressing years into months. You may notice resistance increasing around you, criticism becoming louder, doubt rising from unexpected voices. Do not be shaken by this. Resistance often signals proximity to breakthrough. When God elevates you, insecurity in others becomes visible. But you are not called to defend yourself. You are called to remain aligned. OD will silence what needs silencing and open what needs opening without your manipulation. This miracle money season also demands wisdom. Provision without discipline leaks away. God blesses not just to meet needs, but to establish stewardship. Pay attention to how God teaches you to manage small increases, because those lessons prepare you for larger flows. Honor integrity even when shortcuts appear tempting. Remember that money is a servant, not a master. When you keep God at the center, provision never becomes a trap. There will be moments when fear tries to remind you of past scarcity. Memories of loss will attempt to rewrite your expectations. Do not partner with that voice. The past has no authority over what God has initiated. You are not entering this season as a victim of circumstances, but as a participant in divine timing. What failed before was not proof of inadequacy, it was part of preparation. Expect unusual favor. Expect conversations to shift unexpectedly in your favor. Expect opportunities to arise where none existed. Expect debt solutions, income streams, and financial clarity to appear step by step. God rarely overwhelms with everything at once. God builds momentum. Each provision strengthens your faith for the next one. Each answered need becomes evidence that God is involved. Understand also that miracle money is not just about what comes to you, but what flows through you. God blesses channels, not containers. When your heart remains generous, provision remains active. This does not mean reckless giving, it means responsive obedience. There will be moments God prompts you to bless others, and those moments unlock further flow because generosity aligns you with God's nature. You may not feel qualified for this level of blessing. You may feel unready, but readiness is not perfection. It is willingness. God does not wait for flawless people. God moves through available ones. If your heart is open, if your intention is sincere, if your trust is anchored in God rather than wealth itself, you are ready enough for God to begin. This season will also clarify relationships. Some people will celebrate your progress, others will distance themselves. Do not chase validation. God often removes voices that would have limited your growth. As provision increases, clarity increases. You will see who aligns with your purpose and who only align with your struggle. This is not loss, this is refinement. There will be days when you wonder if this is real or temporary. Anchor yourself in remembrance. Recall how far you have already come. Recall the moments God sustained you when nothing made sense. The same God who carried you through emptiness will guide you through abundance. God does not change with circumstances. God remains constant. You must also prepare your mindset for responsibility. Money amplifies what already exists. If fear dominates, it will magnify fear. If peace governs, it will multiply peace. That is why God has been working on your inner world before altering your outer one. This season is as much about transformation as transaction. When challenges arise, and they will, do not interpret them as signs of failure. Growth attracts pressure. Expansion demands adjustment. Stay teachable. Stay grounded. Stay prayerful. God does not withdraw blessings because of questions. God responds to humility. Ask for wisdom. Ask for guidance. Ask for protection over what God entrusts to you. This is also a season of testimony, though not all testimonies are spoken immediately. Some are lived quietly, some unfold over time. Let your consistency speak. Let your integrity speak. Let your gratitude speak. When others see stability instead of arrogance, generosity instead of pride, they will recognize that what you carry is not ordinary. Success but divine involvement. There will be moments when you must choose between fear-based saving and faith-based strategy. Wisdom balances both. God does not ask you to ignore reality. God asks you to trust beyond it, plan responsibly, act diligently, and trust deeply. When these align, provision flows without chaos. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not forgotten. You are stepping into a season that required everything you endured to prepare you for what you are about to handle. God does not waste pain. God does not ignore effort. God does not forget promises. As this season unfolds, remain attentive. Listen more than you speak. Observe patterns. Notice how God arranges timing. Stay grateful even for small beginnings. Gratitude accelerates growth because it keeps your heart aligned with the source rather than the outcome. There will be days when provision feels ordinary, bills paid, needs met, progress steady but unspectacular. Do not despise those days. Consistency is also miracle. Stability is also blessing. Not every provision arrives with drama. Some arrive with peace. And peace is one of the greatest indicators that God is involved. You may outgrow old limitations, old mindsets, old habits. Allow that growth. Do not cling to what no longer fits the version of you God is developing. developing. Expansion requires release. Trust that what God removes creates space for what God intends to add. This miracle money season is not an endpoint. It is a chapter that empowers you to serve better, give better, live freer, and trust deeper. Keep your focus clear. Keep your priorities aligned. Keep your dependence on God stronger than your dependence on provision. Even when numbers increase, let humility remain. Even when opportunities multiply, let gratitude deepen. Even when confidence grows, let reverence stay intact. God resists pride, but sustains humility. When you remember where provision comes from, provision continues to flow. There will be moments when others seek your advice, your help, your support. Give wisely, guide gently. You were not blessed to dominate, but to uplift. Influence grows naturally when integrity remains intact. As you walk forward, expect refinement, expect learning, expect occasional correction. Correction is not rejection, it is care. God corrects what God values. Adjust quickly and continue forward. This season will stretch your vision. What once seemed impossible will begin to feel attainable. Allow your expectations to expand, but keep your trust anchored. Vision without grounding becomes fantasy. Vision with faith becomes reality. You are entering a time where alignment matters more than effort, where obedience produces more than striving, where rest becomes productive because trust replaces anxiety. This is not laziness, this is faith-driven movement. Remember that provision does not define your worth. You were valuable before increase and remain valuable beyond it. Money is a tool, not an identity. When you keep that distinction clear, balance remains. As this season continues, stay rooted, stay focused, stay thankful, stay faithful. God is not experimenting with your life. God is fulfilling purpose. What begins now will unfold layer by layer. Some days will feel explosive. Some will feel quiet. Both are part of growth. Do not measure progress only by speed. Measure it by alignment, peace, and consistency. You are not imagining this shift. You are not hoping blindly. You are responding to divine timing. Walk forward with confidence, humility, and expectation, knowing that the same God who opened this season will sustain it, guide it, and expand it according to purpose and wisdom beyond human understanding. There is a deeper layer to this season that many overlook, and it is the alignment of authority. When God releases provision, God also restores your authority over fear, over limitation, and over the voice that once told you to settle. Authority is not loudness, it is certainty. It's the quiet knowing that God has already gone ahead of you and arranged outcomes you have not yet seen. When you walk with that certainty, doors recognize it, opportunities respond to it, resistance weakens in its presence. You are not entering a season where you must beg for space. You are stepping into a season where space is created for you. God is repositioning you from the margins to the center of conversations that matter. Decisions that once happened without you will now require your presence. This is not arrogance, this is divine placement. God places people where their gifts can solve problems, and provision follows solutions. Understand this truth: God does not bless randomness. God blesses assignment. Money follows purpose the way rivers follow gravity. When you align your actions with what God has placed in your spirit, provision flows naturally. This is why chasing money alone always exhausts the soul, but chasing obedience energizes it. In this season, you will notice that when you say yes to what God nudges, energy replaces exhaustion. There will be moments when God asks you to release control. You may want to calculate every step, predict every outcome, secure every variable. But faith is not the absence of planning. It is the refusal to panic when plans must change. God's provision is not fragile. It does not collapse because one path closes. If one door shuts, another opens, sometimes in a direction you never considered. Trust is not passive, it is active surrender. This season also awakens discernment. You will begin to sense what aligns and what drains. Not every opportunity is a blessing, even if it looks profitable. God's provision never demands the sacrifice of peace or integrity. If something pulls you away from clarity, it is not sourced from God. Learn to say no without guilt. Protection is also provision. You may find that God simplifies your life before expanding it. Clutter creates confusion, and confusion leaks resources. As God refines your focus, distractions lose their appeal. You will notice a stronger pull toward clarity, order, and intentional living. This is not restriction, it is preparation. Simplicity creates space for stewardship. In this season, patience will mature. Not the patience that waits passively, but the patience that remains steady under pressure. God's timing is not slow, it is precise. What arrives too early cannot be sustained. What arrives on time builds momentum. You are learning to trust timing without resentment, and that maturity attracts greater responsibility. Expect God to challenge old definitions of success. Success is not speed alone, it is sustainability. It is peace at night. It is alignment between values and actions. When God prospers someone, there is coherence. Nothing feels forced. Provision fits the life it enters. If something feels chaotic, pause and seek clarity. God's voice brings order. You are also entering a season where gratitude becomes strategic. Gratitude sharpens awareness. It trains your eyes to recognize provision that others overlook. When you notice what God is already doing, you become more receptive to what God is about to do. Complaining dulls perception, gratitude sharpens it. There may be moments when old fears resurface unexpectedly. Do not be alarmed. Fear often surfaces when it realizes it is losing influence. Acknowledge it, but do not obey it. Fear speaks loudly but carries no authority when confronted with trust. God has not brought you this far to abandon you in abundance. As provision increases, so does the need for boundary. Not everyone deserves access to your time, your resources, or your inner world. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. They allow what is aligned to enter and keep what is harmful out. God honors boundaries because they protect purpose. You will begin to notice that your decisions carry more weight. Small choices produce larger outcomes. This is not pressure, it is influence. Influence requires attentiveness. Pay attention to details. Excellence is not perfection, it is care. When you care deeply, quality follows naturally. This season invites you to redefine generosity. Generosity is not only about money, it is about presence, wisdom, and encouragement. Sometimes the most valuable thing you offer is clarity. Sometimes it is hope. When your heart remains generous, your life remains open. God is also strengthening your resilience. You will encounter setbacks that would have once discouraged you, but now they only adjust your approach. Resilience is evidence of growth. It means you no longer interpret obstacles as verdicts. You see them as instructions. There will be moments when silence becomes guidance. Not every answer comes through noise. Sometimes God leads through stillness, through a sense of peace that settles when a choice is right. Learn to trust that inner calm. It is often the loudest confirmation. As you move forward, remember that humility attracts wisdom. Ask questions, seek counsel, remain teachable. Confidence without teachability becomes brittle. Confidence with humility becomes unshakable. This season is also about healing your relationship with money itself. Scarcity teaches survival. Abundance teaches responsibility. Release shame associated with lack. Release guilt associated with desire. God is not threatened by your growth. God is invested in your wholeness. Expect moments of surprise, provision that arrives from unexpected sources, solutions that appear through unlikely connections. God delights in reminding you that outcomes are not limited by your perspective. Stay open. Curiosity keeps the heart receptive. You may feel a renewed sense of purpose rising within you. Goals once postponed begin to resurface with urgency. Do not ignore that pull. It is not restlessness, it is activation. God is awakening dormant assignments. This season also teaches you to rest without fear. Rest is not irresponsibility, it is trust. When you rest, you declare that God is at work even when you are not striving. Rest sharpens judgment and preserves clarity. You will notice that your language evolves. Complaints decrease. Gratitude increases. Confidence replaces hesitation. This is not self-help, this is transformation. Words reflect alignment. When alignment is present, language follows. As responsibility grows, compassion must grow with it. Success without compassion isolates. Provision with compassion builds legacy. Remember how it felt to struggle. Let that memory guide your generosity without binding you to the past. God is also teaching you to celebrate progress without comparison. Comparison steals joy and distorts vision. Your journey is specific. Your pace is intentional. Celebrate what God is doing in you without measuring it against others. There will be seasons within this season, peaks and plateaus, movement and stillness. Do not misinterpret stillness as stagnation. Sometimes stillness consolidates gains so growth can continue sustainably. As clarity increases, distractions lose power. You will find it easier to focus, easier to decide, easier to let go. This is not detachment, it is maturity. Mature focus preserves energy. You are learning to trust process over impulse. Quick gains fade quickly. Steady growth endures. God builds foundations before structures. Honor the process even when impatience whispers. This season also invites forgiveness. Not because others deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. Resentment restricts flow. Forgiveness restores it. Release what weighs you down so you can carry what God is giving. Expect your confidence to become quieter and deeper. You will no longer need constant affirmation. Inner assurance replaces external validation. This is strength. God is shaping you into someone who can hold blessing without losing balance. That is rare. That is intentional. That is valuable. As you continue, remain present. Do not rush past moments trying to reach outcomes. Presence deepens awareness. Awareness deepens gratitude. Gratitude sustains provision. What unfolds next will require trust, wisdom, patience, and courage. You are not lacking any of these because God has been cultivating them within you. Walk forward with steadiness. Listen closely, act deliberately, trust completely. There's also a sacred recalibration happening beneath the surface, one that has nothing to do with numbers and everything to do with trust. God is teaching you how to hold expectation without anxiety. Expectation rooted in fear tightens the soul, but expectation rooted in trust relaxes it. In this season, you are learning how to wait without worry and move without panic. That balance is rare, and God does not grant it lightly. It is proof that your inner foundation is strengthening. You will notice that your reactions are changing. Situations that once triggered urgency now invite reflection. Where you once rushed to fix, you now pause to discern. This is growth. God is training you to respond rather than react. because provision increases responsibility, and responsibility requires composure. Calmness is not weakness, it is mastery. God often speaks most clearly to those who have learned to quiet the noise within. This season also brings a sharpening of vision. You will begin to see beyond immediate gain and toward long-term impact. Short-term relief no longer satisfies you. You are being drawn toward sustainability, legacy, and systems that outlast momentary success. This is not ambition, it is stewardship awakening. God prospers with continuity in mind, not impulse. At times you may feel a weight, not of burden, but of awareness. Awareness that your choices matter more now. Awareness that others are watching, learning, drawing courage from your consistency. Do not fear this awareness. It is not pressure meant to crush you, it is honor meant to elevate you. God does not place weight on weak foundations. The fact that you can sense this responsibility means you are ready to carry it. You are also learning the discipline of restraint. Just because you can act does not mean you must. Just because you have access does not mean you should engage. Restraint protects clarity. In this season, God is teaching you that power includes the ability to wait, to observe, and to choose wisely. Restraint today preserves freedom tomorrow. There will be moments when gratitude feels quieter than excitement. Do not confuse quiet gratitude with diminished joy. Deep gratitude does not shout, it settles. It anchors you, it keeps your heart steady when circumstances fluctuate. God values this depth because it signals maturity. Shallow excitement fades quickly, but grounded gratitude sustains momentum. You may also experience a redefinition of security. Security will no longer be tied solely to accumulation, but to alignment. You will realize that peace increases when your actions reflect your values. This alignment becomes a form of wealth no external condition can steal. God builds security from the inside out. This season challenges you to release comparison completely. Comparison distorts perception and weakens gratitude. Your journey has been designed with intention, shaped by experiences that prepared you uniquely. When you honor your path, you free yourself to walk it fully. God never duplicates purpose. Each assignment carries its own rhythm and reward. Expect clarity to replace confusion in areas that once felt uncertain. Decisions that lingered unresolved will begin to settle naturally. This is not coincidence, it is coherence. When internal alignment is present, external choices become clearer. God removes fog not by force, but by illumination. There will be times when growth feels invisible. Progress will occur beneath the surface in habits, attitudes, and priorities. Trust these unseen shifts. Foundations are built underground before structures rise above ground. God is patient in construction because permanence matters more than appearance. You are also being trained to recognize abundance without excess. More does not always mean better. Better means balanced, purposeful, and sustainable. God's provision carries wisdom within it. Learn to recognize when enough is enough. Contentment is not complacency, it is clarity. This season teaches you to honor process even when outcomes are delayed. Process refines character. Character sustains blessing. When outcomes arrive without refinement, they collapse under their own weight. God's method protects you from that collapse. You may feel an increasing desire to create, to build, to contribute something meaningful. This creative pull is not random. It is the expression of purpose-seeking form. Do not dismiss it. Explore it patiently. God often uses creativity as a channel for provision and impact. As influence grows, silence becomes valuable. Not every thought needs expression. Not every success needs announcement. Silence preserves depth. God trusts those who can hold success quietly. Discretion protects momentum. You will also notice that gratitude extends beyond circumstances to people. Appreciation deepens relationships. Recognition strengthens community. In this season, God is reminding you that provision flows through connection as much as through effort. Honor those who support you, guide you, and walk with you. There may be moments when old identities try to resurface. The version of you shaped by lack, fear, or limitation. Gently release those identities. They serve their purpose, but they are no longer accurate. You are not who you were when survival was your primary focus. You are becoming someone who builds, sustains, and contributes. This season invites intentional living. Every choice carries weight, every habit shapes direction. Intentionality does not restrict freedom, it enhances it. When you choose deliberately, you move with purpose rather than drift. God honors intentionality because it reflects respect for the gift of time. You may also experience joy that is not tied to achievement. Joy that exists simply because you trust. This joy is resilient. It remains even when outcomes fluctuate. It is a sign that your faith is no longer transactional, but relational. Expect moments when you are asked to stand firm in quiet conviction. Not every challenge requires confrontation. Some require consistency. Let your steadiness speak. God often defends those who refuse to compromise quietly. As this season unfolds, remain attentive to inner prompts. Guidance will come subtly, through peace, through hesitation, through sudden clarity. Learn to trust these signals. They are not random. They are refined awareness. You are being shaped into someone who can carry increase without losing center. Someone who can navigate complexity without confusion. Someone who can receive without entitlement and give without depletion. This balance is rare and precious. What lies ahead will require courage, not the loud kind, but the steady kind. Courage to remain faithful when shortcuts appear. Courage to remain patient when acceleration tempts you. Courage to trust God when outcomes are still forming. This season is not merely about what you gain, it is about who you become while gaining it. Transformation is the true miracle. Provision is the evidence, not the essence. And God, who began this work within you, remains present in every step, every decision, every unfolding moment. So stand in this moment with awareness and reverence, because what God has initiated is not fragile and it is not accidental. This season did not begin because circumstances improved. It began because alignment was completed. What once felt delayed now feels deliberate. What once felt uncertain now carries quiet assurance. This is the evidence that God has shifted you from waiting for change to walking in it. Let your heart remain anchored as provision unfolds. Do not rush ahead of wisdom or lag behind obedience. Move at the pace of peace. God's guidance in this season will not shout over chaos. It will whisper through clarity. Learn to honor that clarity. It will keep you steady when opportunities multiply and decisions carry greater weight. Remember that increase is not permission to disconnect from dependence. The source has not changed, only the flow has. Stay close, stay attentive, stay humble. Gratitude will keep your hands open and your spirit grounded. When gratitude leads, entitlement never enters. Allow this season to refine your trust rather than replace it. Trust that does not waver with numbers. Trust that remains when outcomes fluctuate. Trust that knows God's involvement is deeper than visible. Results. This trust becomes your greatest asset because it stabilizes every other blessing. You are not stepping into chaos, you are stepping into order. An order designed by wisdom beyond calculation. An order that aligns provision with purpose, growth with responsibility, and success with integrity. God has not misjudged your capacity. What is coming matches who you have become. Carry this season with intention. Let your choices reflect your values. Let your actions mirror your faith. Let your stewardship honor the one who provides. When challenges arise, meet them with composure. When success appears, receive it with humility. Balance will preserve what abundance introduces. Above all, remain present. Do not live only for what is ahead and miss what is unfolding now. Every step matters. Every lesson counts. Every quiet confirmation builds strength. God is not only shaping your future, God is affirming your present. Walk forward without fear, without haste, and without doubt. What has started will continue. What has been aligned will be sustained. What has been entrusted will be guided. And through every stage of this unfolding season, God remains constant, faithful, and fully involved.